This is David. I'm your host. You're listening to The Last Podcast, where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. If you're returning, welcome back. I hope you continue to get tips, ideas, and value from listening to this podcast. Today, I'm just going to answer a few quick questions from some people who emailed me, and we're going to move on from there. But before we do, we'll be right back after this message. Hi, my name is Dave with The Last Podcast. Have you ever heard of Impact Health Sharing? Impact Health Sharing is an affordable alternative to traditional health insurance. Impact is a caring community of people who share in each other's medical bills, and is for anyone interested in sharing, acting responsibly together, and saving on healthcare. For more information, click on the link in the show notes that reads Impact Health Sharing. This is David with The Last Podcast. We'll see you soon. All right, so we're back, and I had a couple of questions from two of my listeners. The first question was from Jalen. She's from Canada, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct, Jalen. She asks, why did I start my podcast? And my answer to that was very simple. I've always wanted to have a podcast, and I remember back when I was around 18, my sister said, you should go on the radio, and she even got me an interview, and they liked me, but they wanted to start me off with something that was called Chuck Full of Nuts commercials. And I wasn't into that. That's not something that I really wanted to do, but I was missing the bigger picture. To actually break into radio or the air and start out with commercials, you grow from there. And I wasn't looking at that. I had vanity all over my decision and turned it down and never went back to radio, never even thought about doing radio. But years passed, and I mean like 30-something years passed, and about 2011, I wanted to start a podcast, and the reason I found out about it was I happened to click on a link that was to a poetry show, and the lady was from Facebook, and she had this platform where she would allow other people to come on and read their poetry and read their poems, and even talk about the brand new books that they've created. And I said, wow, this is awesome. So I've been on the show one time, and I said, you know what, I could do something like this, but fear stopped me there too. And I was a good poet. I performed in shows, competitions. So I'm getting away from the question why I wanted to start my own podcast. I thought that it would be a great venue to be non-invasive and to provide value for listeners. I wanted to talk about things that had substance, things that I've dealt with, things that people are dealing with. And why did I pretty much choose this venue? Was her second question. And her second question, why did I choose the platform that I'm on? And that was a simple one, because there was a person, I started listening to podcasts because I wanted to learn more about doing podcasts. And one podcast, and I listened to quite a few, I liked a whole lot, but one podcast I happened to click on, and it was driving home, and I was listening to this guy called Nat from the Be Positive, Stay Positive podcast show. And what he was saying just struck chords with me. I mean, really struck chords with me. If you can check him out, it's a good podcast. Nat from Positive, Stay Positive podcast, and you're going to really enjoy this guy. But he mentioned something by, if you want to do what I'm doing, just go on to Podomatic and take a look and see if it's the platform that you want to start your podcast. And you can actually start it, and I did so. I believe you could start it for free. So I chose not to start for free because I knew that I wanted to do this and I have to be in it. So I have a pro account. And that is the one thing that I decided to do. And that's why, is because of that guy, Nat, from the Stay Positive or Be Positive and Stay Positive podcast. I just wanted to jump right in because fear stopped me so many times. And I think that fear fear doesn't even belong in our decision making. It should never be in our decision making, but it's there because we fear to move forward into something that we have a strong desire to do. Because look, I was 18 when I first had the desire, and then in 2011, many years later, I had the desire again. And then the third time round was this year. I was looking at it and I was listening to a ton of podcasts, and I said, I think I have something of substance that I could share with people. And that's why I started. And that's how I started. After speaking to my grandson, my daughters, they were like, you should go for it. You should just do it. And at the time when I first started this podcast, my wife was gravely sick, and she has since passed away in April. And this podcast has been nothing but therapeutic for me. So I am so happy and so thrilled that I started this podcast. And Jalen, if starting a podcast is something that you want to do, sure, take your time and look to see what platform you might want to be on. Try to see what topics you want to talk about, and also take your time and find a name that rings a bell with you, because I've made a mistake with mine. The last podcast, there are other people who actually had that name, and I didn't realize it. I just wanted to jump in, and the last podcast was what I wanted to do, what I wanted to use, and that's exactly how I started. So after I had like 30 or 20 something shows, I decided to take my time and start looking around. And that's when I really noticed that, wow, I'm not the only one with this name. So this show right now is my 102nd show. So those are the reasons why I started a podcast. And if you want to start one, go ahead and start one. Jump in, do your due diligence first, and then jump in, and don't make excuses. And the only thing that I want to impart, or anyone that's listening, is if you decide to go ahead and start your own podcast, don't give up. Just stay in it. Don't give up. I don't care if you don't get any likes. I don't care if you don't have anybody listening. Don't give up. Learn your craft, enjoy your craft, and share it with the world, especially if you have something of value to talk about. The second one was from Daryl in Michigan. Now, Daryl in Michigan has a question I didn't even expect. He wanted to know, where do I go from here now that I started a podcast? Where do I go from here? And Daryl, that's a great question, because like I was saying a few minutes ago, I started this podcast and jumped in, and I wanted to just share my thoughts, my experiences with other people, and probably share some tips and some value that would help people along the way if they might be experiencing some of the things that I've experienced, or what I might be experiencing now. Where do I go from here? Well, my whole goal is to provide value. So I want to learn as much as I can about this venue. I want to learn as much as I possibly can about how to share the stories and get guests on my show and pretty much continue to provide content that people can relate to and see as a value and take away something once they listen. And I think that's important to be able to provide a value where people can, it provokes thought. People can start thinking about something and say, wow, I think that's what I'm going to go with. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not a professional by any means. I'm just a person who believes that I have value to share with the world, and I will do so, and in any way that I see fit without harming anyone else. I don't believe in putting or talking about political things because that's not my game. What I like is pretty much poetry. I like to talk about anything that's uplifting. I like to talk about how people can achieve things, how they can surmount difficulties. So those are the lines that I basically want to bend the ear of people who want to listen to those types of talks. So that's my two questions from Daryl, who was in Michigan, and the other question was Jalen had like a two-part question, and she's from Canada. So and they emailed this to me. So the funny thing is, I realized that I don't get many people who actually email me or text me, but when I do, there's people who are asking generally for themselves. They want to understand, how could I do this? I believe that if I enter in this podcast atmosphere, universe, or whatever you want to call it, industry, I want to be able to offer something of value. I want to be able to do something exciting. I want to be able to provide a way for my listeners to enjoy, whether it's comedy, whether it's deep thought or provocative conversations. Hey, I believe if you want to get in this arena, just start. That's what I was told, to get out there and start. And believe it, I took it literally. The first podcast I had was just my phone. I had no microphone. I had no computer. I didn't know what I was doing. I just had my phone and just talked. And that was it. It was for like about 4 minutes. Now, all I want to do is talk. But I want to make sure that I'm talking about something that people can walk away with and use in their own life. So that's me right now. And I hope that answered your question. And if you have a question for me, you can go ahead and email your questions to me at thelastpodcast443@gmail.com. And I really appreciate you guys listening. My name is Dave.